want to put a couple of things in context. A little bit about Southface and a little bit about the region that we work mostly in, the Southeast, that we are trying to transform. Jonathan, I'm going to have to correct you. Our 33rd birthday was last week. So we've been in business for 33 years. We are a private, nonprofit organization based in Atlanta. When we started as an all-volunteer organization, and I have talked with several of you here, and you have onesies and twosies and threesies on your staff. Well, you know, that's how we started as well. We now have about 70 folks on our staff. We divide our, you know, I'm supposed to tell you our mission statement. Please tell our Director of Development that I did. We divide our work really into 4 teams, and this is where we're going to begin our PowerPoint presentation, because I'm going to list the 4 teams, and I don't want you to think of a slide of you know, you've seen this where, you know, there's going to be a Venn diagram of each circle of a team and how they all work together. I want you to think of 4 very hungry amoebas, because that's our teams, because they're gobbling each other up all the time, and one's bigger this time than the other one. But so we work in the commercial building world. We work in the residential building world. We work in the sustainable communities and developments world, and then we have a policy team. And again, these teams they're not siloed, they're not well-defined boundaries. We have a struggle internally about who's working on what team or whatever. And I think that's important, and that really speaks to one of our values is we are about the most entrepreneurial nonprofit you'll ever meet. And so, you know, we are constantly changing and being flexible. And I'd like to say that's just because of our culture, but it's also a matter of necessity, particularly now. We've got to be nimble and quick to move, or we won't survive for 34 years, which is my #1 goal. Full employment for everyone at Southface. So that's a little bit of context on our organization. Now, a little bit of context on the Southeast region. And this is your second PowerPoint slide I want you to think of, okay? You've got a map up there of the Southeast region. Everybody with me? So what is the Southeast region, or the South? You know, in fact, the EPA, HUD, Department of Energy, they all have different maps, by the way, of federal regions. HUD, you know, it's got a different map than the Department of Energy or whatever. So the best way we've come to define the South, our home turf, is if you eat grits and drink sweet tea, you're in our region, okay? So everybody, that seems to resonate with people. So now there's going to be a series of maps that I want you to put your PowerPoint presentations together with. So the next map I want you to do is a map of the world, global map, okay? But rather than using the political boundaries to define the nations of the world, I want you to use greenhouse gas emissions. Everybody with me? You've seen these maps, you know, so that just to help you, you know, China and the U.S. is going to be really big. You know, Singapore, well, that's bad. You know, undeveloped countries are going to be really small. So think of the top 6 greenhouse gas emitters on your map. You know, what are going to be the 6 biggest countries on your map? This is total emissions. See, this is back to that anxiety attack. Total emissions. Total emissions. And the list will vary, by the way, depending on U.S., China. Now, according to my list, everybody's thinking here, according to my list, and I think this is from EIA, Energy Information Administration, but I know we have some experts who probably have a later list. But according to my list, the top 6 are going to be China, US, Russia, India, Japan, and Germany. There's some wiggle room on that list, okay? Now, give me a little bit of artistic license here. If you were to treat Georgia, my home state, and our 5 other surrounding southern states, Florida, Tennessee to the north, and we're moving east, the Carolinas and Virginia, if you were to treat us as though we were a nation, we would be the 7th largest greenhouse gas producer in the world, just after Germany. Some wiggle room on the list. Now, why is that? Related to air conditioning, but more than So, yeah. We're a region that's very dependent on coal for our energy. We're also a region, by the way, that had a lot of political clout back in the 70s. And so when the Clean Air Act was passed, anybody know what happened around coal? We use the term grandfathered in. So we grandfathered in a lot of old coal-fired power plants because everyone knew they're only going to last 20 years. They're still running strong. Forget, new source review and things like that. So that's the fact that we're a region dependent on coal is important. The other reason that I'm going to talk about here is that we have the worst building stock in the country. We have a lot of inefficient buildings. Now my question to you is, why do we have the worst building stock in the country from an energy perspective? Probably from a safety and so. Gets back to a lot of what the previous speakers have been talking about. Perception. People think, oh gee, our energy rates historically have been low, and so our energy bills have historically been low, right? Well, you don't pay a rate, you pay a bill. We have lower rates. Actually, our rates now for electricity and natural gas goes all over the map, but for electricity, we're about at the average now. But because of our inefficient buildings, our bills are actually above average now. And so, now why are our buildings so inefficient? Let's go back to another map now. If you were to have a map of the US and you were to say, where have we invested in energy efficiency in this country? Primarily through either utility-sponsored programs, public benefit funds, whatever you want to call them, or states that have passed aggressive building codes and bothered to train on them and enforce them. Not a long list. And so if you looked at where you had that kind of investment in energy efficiency, you'll see much stronger market penetration than, by the way, on that map of the US where you see that investment in efficiency. How many of you know Sam Rashkin? Runs the Residential Energy Star program. He has this map, and he actually calls it the infertile crescent of energy efficiency, and that's the South. It just shows up nicely on the map. And so we haven't invested in energy efficiency. Why have we not? Historically cheap energy. I would argue that Pacific Northwest historically has had some of the cheapest energy, but is a good investor. Actually, just to put it in scale, I know the number off the top of my head for New England, the Northeast. They used to be about $12 to $15 per capita per year for utility energy efficiency. I don't know what it is now. I think this came from ACEEE. The South, the last time I saw the study, we invested, so $12 per person per year to invest in energy efficiency. The South, we invested 69 cents. And the Pacific Northwest was somewhere closer to $12 than 69 cents. I forget exactly where it was. So now, this is there's a lot of reasons. Historic low rates, people are confused because they just look at a peak bill in the wintertime and think that's my energy bill, and we have a need for heating and cooling throughout the year. And so we don't, what's the highest heating bill you get here in New York? $600 a month? Yeah, we don't get those kind of heating bills. But what we get is, combination of heating and cooling bills so that over the course of the year, our bills are actually, as I said, higher than average. But I think this is something that's true in the South, but it's true in your region, I guess. And a couple of us were talking about this during one of our breakout sessions. Is we finance energy waste in 12 easy monthly installments. Think about your own life. How much do you pay for energy for your home over the course of the year? A couple of $1,000s a year? I think that's about the national average. I got all these experts, help me if you know. And so, we can cut that in 20, 30%. Help me on the math. 30% of $2,000 is 360 bucks. Did I get that right? Six. Thank you. I didn't get it right. I should have written that down. Divide that by 12. You know, you take the kids out to the movies for that. Get popcorn and box of Raisinets. And so this is a big, I think, concern. And I agree with all the comments that were made about economic drivers are not the only way to go. We've got to have behavior. But the reality is energy is still dirt cheap in this country. And it is hard to motivate people for 50 bucks a month sometimes. Now, there are ways around it, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. But just to share our pain with you. And is your pain much different than that? Not really. I don't think so. So, now, why should you worry about the South? Now I want you, the next PowerPoint slide, is Karen here? Oh, there you, yep, excuse me. Remember that slide you showed that had, over the last, since Kyoto, here's emissions are doing this, and I forget all the lines on the slide, but basically you were saying, we're not doing great, we're doing so-so, The reason you should worry about the South is, I got this number. This is from Georgia Tech, of course, so it's an accurate estimate. According to Georgia Tech, where did I jot this down? I think it's about 40. Yeah, roughly half the population growth between now and over the next 40 years is going to be in the South, in the U.S. It's interesting, Georgia Tech says about 2/3 of the economic development in this country is going to be in the South over the next 40 years. So what about if all the rest of you guys get it well and the South doesn't? What happens to Karen's curve? It doesn't go down at all. You could knock it out of the ballpark, but the curve's going to go up if the South doesn't start addressing energy efficiency better. Now, I'm a native Southerner and proud of my region. We're going to get it right, but we're going to use what we call case studies for transforming the market. And CASE is an acronym for copy and steal everything. So we are going to steal your ideas, and that's why I'm here now. And so I'm going to talk about some of our general strategies for transforming a region's building practice, and you will discover that you're going to say, well, hell, we've been doing that. Yeah, thank you. We stole it from you. So as a general rule, I'm going to focus on the residential just in the interest of time. We can hopefully have a conversation and deal with commercial if you want, or industrial for that matter. We always use this mantra of voluntary market-based approaches to energy efficiency versus mandates. That is certainly part of our culture as an entrepreneurial nonprofit, but I'll be honest with you, if mandates or carrots and sticks, whatever you want to call it, if we had a big enough stick, boy, we'd wield it like crazy. But we've never had the resources to really have a stick that had an impact. So we're pretty much dependent on persuasion, which is another word of saying voluntary market-driven approaches. We don't have enough clout to get rigorous codes passed or enforced is the bigger problem. You can get them passed, but nothing happens to them, or other mandates. We've never had enough clout to get utilities to do public benefits funds to drive energy efficiency programs to any degree. So we do use the voluntary market-based approach there. What are some of the ways you can get, focusing on the residential sector, to do that? So, Jason? Yeah, how am I going to come up to you as a builder and say, hey, Jason, this green stuff, it's great. Got no money for you. Yeah, I want you to start doing energy efficiency, green building, or whatever. So how are you going to transform that market? It's probably going to cost you more up front. And the consumers may or may not appreciate it. Most of the stuff's going to be hidden behind the walls. And so how are you going to transform that market? Well, when we launched the Earthcraft program, as Jonathan mentioned, that was in I guess about 12, 13 years ago. I think a lot of the techniques we used back then are still the ones now. We did not use a market pull approach of trying to get advertising dollars to convince consumers to demand green. We didn't have the resources to do that. We used a market push strategy, if you will, where we went to builders and we said, Jason, what are the headaches in your life? Where's the pain you're feeling as a builder? Callbacks, for example. Everybody know what builders hate callbacks. It just eats their profits alive, And so can we help solve your callback problems for you? Sure. How are you going to do that? A lot of callback problems are related to comfort issues. Comfort issues are, of course, related to energy issues, building envelope, mechanical systems, all kinds of things that feed into that. And so, trying to solve that builder's problem so can reduce the callbacks. We did a focus group, and this was interesting. Maybe it's not true in your region, but builders are held in about the same regard in our region as used car salesmen and insurance salesmen. And we did this with the Home Builders Association. And so I'll come back and chat about that partnership in a second. And it was a little bit eye-opening for the home builders because this has changed, I think. Mr. Haynes built my mom's first house. She worshiped him. He was always there and all. But it's changed, at least in our region now, where, builders, are not held in that same regard. And so the focus groups really showed that. And we took advantage of that. And so consumers were concerned about quality. And it showed very clearly in consumers' minds that they linked green building with quality. Now, I don't know, there was no science to back this up, but it was there. And so we didn't go after every builder. We only went after those who were committed to quality. Now, quality in the marketplace is a word like new and improved. It means nothing. I've been in this business for a long time, and I've yet to meet a builder who doesn't build a quality home. But what we were able to do early on is to link the builder's desire to differentiate themselves in a marketplace on quality. And there are some builders who are very sincere about doing that. Everyone says they do, but there are some who actually try and do it. And so those were our early adopters in our green building program. And frankly, those are the ones who stuck with us through really hard times. We've gone from 50,000 housing starts a year in the greater Atlanta area, which stretches somewhere between Dallas and Pittsburgh. From about 50,000 housing starts a year down to, I don't believe the numbers I'm seeing, I think it's fewer than 10,000. So, yeah, multifamily. We're achieving some success in market penetration. We have numbers and things like that. I'll share a few of them with you now. We've never had to worry about the builders in our program cheating to any degree. Because again, they're trying to do the quality. We're not trying to get every builder in the program. Builders have certified about 13,000 homes in the program. And so, they aren't cheating. I mean, the typical problem is, every house gets inspected a couple of times by independent third-party technical advisors that are about 60, 80 of them around the region now. Small businesses who do this work, by and large. And so the classic is, they'll be on a house, and I think this is true for the LEAD program, for the Earth Advantage program up in the Pacific Northwest, certainly true for, and we work with all of them. Dana, you here with the Enterprise Green Communities program? Yeah, I think it's probably true for all the green building programs. It's not that the builder or developer was trying to cheat the program. It's a sub didn't do it the way it was supposed to be done. So, you've got an inspector out there and they say, hey, you took the credit for 13 or 14 SEER heat pump and you only got a 13. And the builder goes, what do you mean? I paid for 14. It's just things happen. And so we don't get cheating that way. One of the big signs we thought we were finally getting some market penetration was that we found builders who were not in the program starting to say they were in the program. And so if you are not offering enough value that people will steal from you, then something's wrong. And so we looked at that as a huge success, which is true. I wanted to talk a little bit about carrots and sticks because I think this is important for transforming the market. I mentioned that we seldom have enough resources to really have a big stick. We also think that the carrot ought to be bigger than the stick. And I wanted to get you to think about your own PowerPoint slide now about what are some carrots that have worked in your programs and what are some sticks that have worked in your programs. And I'll give one or two, but then I'm hoping that, in the next 10 minutes or so that this will lead to y'all sharing some of your experiences there. On the, probably the biggest success we've had in doing all green building programs, and we try and be this one-stop shop. And by the way, that doesn't get it. Nobody wants to go to a one-stop shop if the only thing you're selling is yogurt or peas or whatever. We try and be a comprehensive one-stop shop. So we don't care if you're doing the Enterprise Green Communities program, or we don't care if you're doing the LEAD program, or we don't care if you're doing the NHB program or Energy Star, Earthcraft or whatever. We want to be this technical resource for the folks that we're trying to be our partners in transforming the market. This is true on the residential and the commercial side. But some of the biggest carrots we've had that have helped transform the market is in the affordable housing side. And I can't say, how much the work of Enterprise, I can't overstate how much the work of Enterprise and others in, I know in the affordable housing sector have really been, how valuable that work has been in transforming the affordable housing market in this country. I think it's leading the way still in green building, especially in these times. We were able to get our qualified application plan, for those of you who know what a QAP is. It's the scorecard for how you get low-income housing tax credits. We've gone in roughly 5-year period from having 0 affordable housing units being green in our state to this year, we are not only at 100% that are going to be certified green under some program, LEAD, Green Communities, Earthcraft, or whatever, but we've actually got projects now that are going for zero energy. We've got projects that are doing broader sustainable community design and things like that. So that's just been a huge carrot in our market, is to get that qualified application plan, which really translates into money for sure for the developers. But it's got to be more than just that. It's been supported by a lot of training. It's been supported by design reviews, hand-holding, partnering with the builders. We never are the green cops. We really try and get the development community to look at us as their quality assurance contractor in our green building program. And I think that's why we've had some success there. Enough success so that the developers said to the state, this is a good thing. This is not a wacky environmental group like Southface saying this. And so, because again, we weren't the green cops, we were trying to really be their quality assurance team, and it's worked well. The other thing that we've had some success with is, the problem with green is most people can't tell it's green. It gets back to that new and improved issue. And so how do you inform the marketplace that this product, whether it's a new home or a renovation, is better than the other product? They often look the same, have the same curb appeal or whatever. And so the certification programs, LEED, Energy Star, whatever, those are helpful. We find, first of all, unfortunately, many of the residential builders don't do a good job of marketing that. The real estate industry, probably, that's not one of our greatest allies there either. But what we have been able to do in the metro Atlanta area is get the FMLS to now list if a house is certified under one of those programs. Let me give you a couple of numbers that we've experienced from that. So in metro Atlanta, because we're now tracking this, green homes are about 8% of the sales market in our region. Our goal is 10%. Some smart person told us once if we can get to 10%, there's a tipping point there. We believed them because we thought we could get to 10%. I have no idea if that's true or not. But we're selling that. So green homes are selling now for an additional 4% of asking price versus standard homes in our market. So not a huge premium, but in this market, 4% is getting people's attention now. This is probably as important, if not more so than the 4% premium on price, is that they're spending 20% less time on the market, 104 days versus 132 days. And so, and that's obviously money in people's pockets on the time factor as well. I wanted to finish two other points before we get to wine and cheese. We have mixed feelings on the stick or on the mandate. We partner, most all of our programs, we partner with the design and development community. We do a lot of work with home builders associations. In fact, I'm on the board of the Georgia Home Builders Association now. It's a strange thing. I have to bite my tongue often in meetings because, you know, as a general rule, home builders associations are against everything. Codes, impact fees, fire safety requirements, or whatever. But, and so they're definitely against mandates for green building. But what we are finding now is that several local governments are doing a couple of things. They are, some are providing incentives, almost none in the last few years, because every local government, whether city or county, they're broke. But if there are some no-cost ways that they can do incentives, Coweta County, y'all have all heard of Coweta County, right? Yeah, you know, hotbed of progressive thought in Georgia. You know, someone who's from Boulder, the Republic of Boulder, you know, yeah, Republic of Coweta County. Surely you've heard of them. Very conservative bedroom community of Atlanta. But the county was starting to be concerned about growth issues. And so they've now provide incentives, modest, fast-track permitting and density bonuses if you will do a green development. And so that's gotten a little bit of attention. Another hotbed of progressive thought, Conyers, Georgia, has now mandated green building for all new construction. And green building is defined as either Earthcraft, Green Communities, or LEED. Now, why would a very conservative town in Georgia mandate that all new construction be green? What's the market force at play here? Higher value in the homes. That would be a noble answer. That's not the correct answer. Economic development, that would be another noble answer. That is not the correct answer. Utility infrastructure, that would be another noble answer. That's not correct. What's that? No new homes. No new homes. You're getting warm. Gets back to that focus group about quality construction. The county, the city council members were getting so much heat from their constituents about the quality of new construction in the city that they said, well, we can't legislate quality, but by God, we're going to legislate that wacky Earthcraft or LEED or Green Communities program, and that's how we're going to get quality. And it's working. By the way, it's the first time we've been able to get one of the large production home builders to stick with the program. They'll all do onesies and twosies, you know, as demonstration houses, but none of them have ever stuck with the program. Now they're having to stick with the program because they are mandated to in Conyers, Georgia, at least. And so I agree behavioral change is a critical part, but I also agree with Jonathan's point that, you know, sometimes it takes the stick. It's not just the carrot. Yes? All new single-family residential construction. It is huge. Conyers, Georgia is not huge. But right, exactly. Again, because of the pressure from constituents unhappy, you know, they're unhappy about the drywall or about the, you know, poor drainage around the slab. I mean, there are a lot of, you know, the quality of construction was not good. So, you know, our feeling is, you know, and we had to dance around this with the Home Builders Association because they were fighting this, and we're saying, well, you know, yeah, we're against mandates, but if you're going to have a mandate, we sure want them to mandate our program. And so that's something I wanted to bring up there. And then, Jason, I wanted to give you a shout out. I also think an important part of us working to transform the region in the South, we say walk the talk. In this space, I think we have to say, you know, be the change you seek or something like that. But, you know, I was impressed that, you know, your company is, you know, y'all are trying to walk the talk. When you do dumpster diving to do a waste stream analysis, you know, that's because it's just so easy to say, oh yeah, we do recycling. Sorry?
I was going to say, that's anthropology. Yeah.
That's
anthropology.
Oh,
studying, social waste streams. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did I say social waste streams?
No, you really did.
CSI.
Because I think something that's been helpful is, we have a LEED Platinum certified office building. Many of our staff have done things in their own homes. We have Earthcraft has a renovation program. I live in an Earthcraft renovated home. And so I think that's a very important part of transforming the market. If we are not willing to walk the talk ourselves, why will others listen to us and make the changes that we want?